YouTube. So, good morning, everyone. I am so excited that I could come again this morning and that I am actually keeping up with the series. I will tell you, yesterday I did get a little frustrated just because of the technology portion of this with streaming to so many platforms. It can be a little bit difficult if you don't know what you're doing. So, good morning. Good morning. As you guys saw, we are going to be talking about reframing autism to go after your God assignment. Now, this is important because there's a lot of things that we tend to allow to block us and stopping us from actually going after things. And it's not even a real physical blockage, it's a mental blockage. And so, what I want to do is, I want to help us actually get through this mental blockage. All right, so let me do my introduction the way I'm supposed to be doing my introduction, because the last couple of days I ain't been doing right. Oh, okay. So, good morning and welcome to Morning Motivation, where I motivate you to love yourself, love your family, and love your life. Okay. My name is Alicia Richardson, and I am an author. I am a speaker, and I am the mom identity coach. Okay. All right. So, we have been talking about the transformational series called Reframing Autism. And inside of these videos that I've been doing, it is more or less or less about the child and more about you. Like I said in the first video, there's a lot of things that when it comes to hearing any type of label, disability, or anything like that, we tend to we tend to put our thoughts and our feelings of whatever that situation is onto the child. And we create this environment, which is what we talked about yesterday. And we create this environment based off of how we feel about whatever it is. But not only that, one of the things I talked about yesterday was we tend to create their environment based off of who we are. And if we're not solid in who we are, then it's going to be hard to or difficult to raise a child with autism or any type of disorder without a solid foundation within yourself, because it does come with a lot of challenges. As we go through these series, that's one thing I don't want to neglect or forget to say. Y'all, I'm still trying to get this lighting right. Okay, will that work? Let's see. I think no, not really. All right, we'll work on it, guys. But good morning, Alana. But because but like I said, so because of our foundation, right? If it's not right or if it's not solid, when we go through these challenges, it's going to be hard. Like having a child that is diagnosed and thinks differently, behaves differently than a typical developing child, there are going to be storms, because now the way that you're raising this child is going completely against what society calls normal, and what we grew in as normal. Okay. And so today I want to talk about reframing reframing autism to go after your God assignment. And the original title for this was actually going to be, How Dedicated Are You to God and His Calling? And I asked this because, like, if we say that, if we truly believe that God is this big, powerful being that controls all the things, and, He's going to take care of us and all of this, and that, why is it so hard for us to actually go after the calling, even with having a child with autism or any developmental delay or any neurological disorder or any disorder at all? Why is it so hard? And so when I asked myself that question, what I found out was it is more so of a mental blockage, and how I viewed what I felt autism was, and what the doctors portrayed it to be. And we talked about that in the last two videos. So when we actually go into how dedicated we are, right? It causes us to really have to go and understand our self-awareness and who we are inside of the situation. Yesterday, I asked, how do you feel about your child? And I said, not that you love them, not that, you love your child, but how do you feel about the fact that they have autism? How do you feel about that? And I was transparent. I said I was irritated, right? And then I let you know I was irritated with my child. I was irritated with the whole situation. And so what it did, it caused me to treat him differently and to form his environment differently, right? That's true self-awareness. And so if I were to ask you, how dedicated are you to the calling on your life? So because if you're here and you're listening to this, you feel that there's a calling on your life. You feel that you are called to either be an entrepreneur, own your own business. You feel that you are called to even start a ministry, but for some reason, or not even some reason, but because of your child's label and because of the things that you go through, it's hard for you to push past that and actually go through what God is calling you to do. And so in my book, You Are More Than a Mom, I talk about pretty much all this in my story, but my thing is, if you feel that you are called or that you need to be in a place of where you're not literally not serving at, and you're saying it's because of it's your child, you're using that, and I'm going to use this word excuse. You're using your child as an excuse to why not to step out, which is not your child, it's you, and your mentality around the situation altogether. Are you putting God on the back burner and putting your feelings or what you think your ability is ahead of God? That's a real question. Okay? Because if you weren't putting your feelings or how you felt about the situation ahead of God, you would have jumped out and moved regardless of what was going on. So let me give you my story. One day, and this is after probably 4 or 5 years after dealing with Caden, because before he was even diagnosed with autism, he also had failure to thrive, developmentally delayed, did not feeding issues, all of that, right? And so one day I just said, I'm tired of this. I'm sick of this. Like, I want to really go after my business. I want to do my business. I want to help women. I want to, do X, Y, and Z. And so what I did was I had to sit back and really ask myself, why am I not doing it? It's not my child, because my child is going to do whatever I tell him to do. My child is going to follow my lead because that's how I raised him. So why am I not doing it? If my child is following my lead, but I'm looking at him and saying, you're the reason why I'm not doing X, Y, and Z, then I'm really using him as an excuse. And so what I had to do was I had to get out of my own way, and I had to get the courage to say, okay, even though I'm going through this, and even though I have to build my son up in this, I'm going to go after that. And I was tired a lot. It did cause me to sacrifice a lot. It did cause me to go through things and reach out to people and put myself in a vulnerable state in order to achieve what I wanted to do. And so again, my question is, how dedicated are you to God and his calling? Here's another thing I want to kind of discuss with this, because notice I said my child followed me. When you're going after your calling, when you're going after the business, when you're going after the things that you're saying God is telling you to do, and you have a child with special needs, you have to put systems in place. Of course, I had ABA therapy to help me put systems in place, and I've also had other services to help me put systems in place. However, I didn't just look at those services as a babysitting thing. And I'm saying this, so if you're in the autism world and you're an autism, like, you know what this means. Like, people come in and I could easily just instead go take a nap or, go do something, you know what I mean? But I was so dedicated to the business and the calling of God that I didn't do that. But anyway, what I did was I said, this is what I want. Number one, I want Caden to be sufficient on his own. I want Caden to be independent. My main goal, my overall goal for Caden is to be independent. So if Caden can be independent, then I have more time in my day. But to get Caden to be independent, now this is a child who we had to simply teach to smile and show him what smile meant. So these are little steps that we had to work on. But the truth of the matter is we had to work on it. So how dedicated are you? Right? Because there are some moms and some guardians and some parents out there who don't push for it. Right? They don't push for it. They simply put their hands up and say, well, I don't know. And they don't try, but you have to. And again, this comes with your child. You have to have a vision for your children. Where do you want to see them? So if I'm saying my vision for Caden is to have him be independent on his own so I don't have to help him, right? That's the vision. So now it's like, okay, well, what are the steps to get me to having Caden be independent? So the overall goal is Caden being independent. So the first thing is Caden needs to what? Take care of his hygiene on his own. Caden needs to make sure he gets dressed on his own. Caden needs to be able to eat and feed himself on his own. Caden's going to need to speak up for himself and use his voice on his own, because I can't be there. And that's one of the things as a parent. Yes, we would. Well, I wouldn't love to be everywhere my kids are. I ain't gonna lie to you. But there are parents who would love to just simply sit in the classroom with their babies, drive around with their babies. That's not me. But anyway, there are steps to getting your child to that vision, right? And so if I tell you guys what step one for me was, so if I needed Caden to be able to get dressed on his own, right? Caden didn't have any fine motor skills. So what do I have to do? I have to work on his fine motor skills. Step one. Step two, right? I have to show Caden, first of all, what is a shirt for? Like, I got to, well, we didn't have to get him out of diapers right away. But, what is a shirt? Is he sensitive to the shirt? Do we need to take steps to get him unsensitive? Because there are sensory things. And for parents out there, you can overcome sensory issues with your children. Caden had a lot of sensory things, and that was even with feeding. Caden could not stand the fact of a spoon or any utensil being in his mouth. So we had to get him used to that. And it's possible. You just have to work at it. You have to be dedicated, and you have to have that vision in front of you, and you have to believe. I think the biggest part of it is I believe that Caden could get to these points, right? But these are just little steps. So little steps to getting to what my main goal. So my vision for Caden was for him to be independent, because my main goal is for me to be able to go out and do my business and have more time in my day to do it, right? So how dedicated are you? Again, how dedicated are you? So when I put these steps and these plans in place, right? Now, I also have to deal with the fact of my child crying because he doesn't like the sensory. He doesn't like this. He doesn't like that. And so for most parents, they stop. Oh, it's just uncomfortable. I can't deal with the crying. He's letting us know that this is not working for him. Well, it wasn't working for Caden at one point. It wasn't. But guess what? The more we got him used to things, the more we put things in his environment, the more we made things quote unquote normal for him, guess what? He stopped. There was one time he didn't want to eat food. He would literally throw up at the smell of just simple things. But guess what? We kept putting it in his environment. We introduced it inch by inch. It took time. It took time to get to these, but the point is being dedicated and being able to see yourself where you truly want to be and being willing to work toward that goal. So that is what I have to share. Again, this is what we're doing here is we're reframing autism, and it's not to try to reframe the child. We're reframing the parent or guardian's mind, really the mom, because I'm really dealing with moms. So we're reframing the mom's mindset around things and how this looks, because the only reason you're not going after what you're going after, especially if you have a child with autism, and that's even with children who you know what, children who are in wheelchairs, children who can't talk, children who are very low on the spectrum, you can still have a life. You can still go after things. Even parents who did not get the services in time for their children, you can still go after your calling. There's no excuse. You just have to do the work and make time and be dedicated to the vision. Have a vision. And we're going to talk about vision tomorrow. Have a vision for your child. So that's what I have for you all today. Thank you all for listening on Instagram. Thank you. Facebook. Thank you. YouTube. Thank you. And on Clubhouse. Thank you. Alana, thank you for sticking with me, girl. Appreciate you. So again, that's all we have. And I will see you all tomorrow. All right. Talk to you later. Know what I wanted to do. All right.